Hi everyone, my name is Zhia and I'm a software engineering manager at a big tech company who has been working remotely for the past several weeks, and I love it. Today, I wanted to share my experience working remotely and here are some of my top tips for being successful working remotely. All right, let's get into it. Why I love remote work. One of the reasons I love remote work is the flexibility. I can set my own schedule and work from anywhere I want, whether that's a table on my kitchen or a coffee shop. And I can choose to balance my professional and private life as I like by choosing when to work. Another reason that I like is the comfort. I can work from home anytime, so I don't have to participate in any of the crazy commutes that people are taking up to go to their office. And I don't have to spend money on transportation because I can just work from home and save the commute time. In addition, I can create a personalized space as much as I want or as little as I want in order to work. All I need is a laptop, reliable internet connection, and a good microphone so that people can hear me clearly. And that's the beauty of working in tech. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to establish a good routine, especially for yourself when you're working in a different time zone from your teammates. For me right now, I'm living in Malaysia for the past couple of weeks, and in terms of time zone differences, it's a huge difference compared to West Coast. I'm currently working from 12 o'clock to about 8 in the morning, which is very different, and it's hard for people to imagine what it's like living like that. For me, I found a schedule that works for me and my family. I usually work from 12 to about 8 in the morning, and then my kid will wake up, and then we'll try to get lunch or early brunch together. And then I will take a nap from about 2 o'clock until midnight. And then that's when the whole thing would start over again. This is a schedule that works for me. I don't know what that would look like for you, but I highly recommend setting a routine that works for you so that you don't have to compromise on your work and your family. Number 2, having good, reliable network. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have good, reliable internet connection. In Malaysia, I will pay about $30 to $40 for good, reliable, high-speed internet. And that has proven to be very sufficient for the work that I do, which consists mostly of video calls, meetings with my team, writing documents, and things like that. I have a computer that my company gave me, which is a MacBook Air with M1, and that has been super reliable, just enough for the work that I do right now as a software engineering manager. Next tip is staying active and taking frequent breaks. Now, with remote work, one of the things is the lines between work and play starts to get very blurry. If you're not careful, it's very easy to work for more than 8 hours, and that bleeds into your personal life. And I've experienced that quite frequently, especially in the first week when I was here, when it was difficult for me to separate out when it's time to work and when it's time for family and play. So I highly recommend that you need to establish a routine that works for you. And part of that is you need to be able to stay active and find ways to motivate yourself. Because if you don't take care of your body first, you're not going to be successful and healthy for the long run. And that involves finding time to work out, maybe 30 minutes a day or even twice, 3 times a week will be sufficient, and taking frequent breaks throughout the day. For me, because I'm working from 12 to 8 in the morning, I try to take a 30-minute break every 2 to 3 hours so I give time for my body to relax, for my brain to recover, so that I can power through the day successfully. And I think it's very important, especially if you're working remotely, when you don't have that human connection to remind you when it's time to take a break. Next tip, seek feedback proactively. When you're working remotely, it's very difficult to get the social and facial cues that typically comes when you're working in person. So what that means is that maybe you're not getting the signals that you need to know if you're on the right track or not. And this can be very problematic for people that are starting their remote work for the very first time. If you've had some experience in the industry, you're probably mature enough to know when you're doing well versus not. And for someone who's earlier in their career, if no one gives you that feedback and you're not picking up these social cues in meetings or in social hours together, it can be very difficult to know whether you're on the right track. Last but not least, you want to be able to stay organized. And that is highly critical. Organize in different aspects of your life, whether that's schedule, the space that you work, the types of work that you're doing. You have to be very, very organized here. And some of my tips here for organizing your life is either using a KonMari method, which was made popular by Marie Kondo, to clean up your space so that you have a good space for work. That's something I highly recommend. I have a video below on how it has helped me be more frugal in my life. Highly recommend checking that out. And I think it's very important to stay organized because when you're working remotely, without the clear separation of boundaries, without that human connection in place, it can be very difficult to know where you're heading in terms of the work that you're doing and progress. So I highly recommend being organized, setting a space that's clearly dedicated to work so you can go there and have a clear separation of boundaries. Also being very organized in terms of the types of work that you're taking on. Because when you're working remotely, it's very critical for you to work on the most impactful, relevant tasks at the time instead of being mired in busy work that doesn't bring too much value to you or your organization. Okay, so those are some of the high-level tips that I have for working remotely. If you're working in a remote work setup right now, I would love to hear from you. What are your top tips for working remotely? All right, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.